Hey, hi, hello. Welcome to Diana Emerson. Today we're listening to Killer Cases, and this is Murder on Wheels.
There's a car that smashed up against the building in a car crash.
It truly was a horrific crash site.
There's a hockey pin inside. We gotta bust the window up. Now! Oh my god. Oh my god. On three, guys. Radio, three occupants.
Even though nobody really wanted this to be a terrible, horrible, purposeful homicide, it was. That's exactly what it was.
Pistol force I've ever seen. Who drives into a building at 100 miles an hour on purpose? This is what he's going to tell you. Never been a situation.
And I grabbed the gun.
Certainly not the first place to put a body. No, sir.
The only thing they could do was kill him.
Do you want to say anything? We, the jury, and find the defendant.
Strongsville is a suburb 15 miles outside of Cleveland. Nice little quiet suburb, a family community, a great place to live.
And it was that time of year, where the kids would go, everybody's having graduation parties. We knew Davion was out with some friends.
Dominic, Mackenzie.
They were just hanging out.
They all were planning on staying the night. They woke up close to 5 o'clock in the morning. Mackenzie was driving. Davion Flanagan was in the back seat, and Dominic Rousseau was in the passenger seat. She uses her blinker. She slows before the turn.
58, 59 seconds later, this car like a missile. This happened on a Sunday morning early, and it was 45 minutes before a passerby noticed the crash.
There's a car that smashed up against the building. He smashed the sign and hit the building. The car crashed.
It truly was a horrific crash site.
Car split in two. Radio, there's a hockey pin inside. Send us a squad now.
Nothing prepares you for what you see on that body cam.
We gotta bust the window up. Send us some more units.
Any more units to try running on you?
Now!
Everyone's
This is not a fresh accident either. She's been here for a while. Radio, we got at least 2 occupants in here. No one's moving. Oh my god. Oh my god. On 3, guys. Radio, 3 occupants. No one's conscious. No one's breathing. Bust that window out.
Both Dominic and Davion Davion are lifeless.
Who can hear my voice? Driver's on radio. The driver is breathing, unconscious. Radio, they're going to need full extraction on all three. Yeah. It's your knife. Let's cut this thing out. This is bad, guys. She's alive. We got to get her out somehow. Try to get her out. Oh, dude, I don't know if we can.
Mackenzie is inside the vehicle. She's trapped underneath the dashboard.
The driver is 17-year-old female, still breathing, wedged in there.
She had to be extracted by jaws of life.
Okay.
She had a broken leg, several broken ribs. She was life flighted.
I truly still do not know how Mackenzie survived that crash.
Jesus Christ. Pistol force I've ever seen.
They found Dominic and Davion not wearing seatbelts. They were sort of stacked on top of one another, laying from the front passenger seat through to the rear driver's side seat.
Davion and Dominic were killed instantly.
Rest in peace, buddy. This is going to be just a nightmare of a day for this whole department.
They called me on the phone right around lunchtime, and the police detective asked, if I was the father of Davion Flanagan, and said there had been a horrible crash, and that her son didn't make it. And that was just a gut punch.
He was the oldest of a sibling group of 3 that we adopted from foster care. He was also the starting running back for Strongsville High. We got the phone call, and that completely just changed our lives, demolished so many dreams.
They went to see Mackenzie Shirilla in the hospital. They were taken aback by she and her parents' hesitancy to speak with them.
Yeah. So whether or not she chooses to cooperate on advice of counsel, that's up to her.
The detective, he did record maybe a few minutes, just audio of her interacting with the detective and her mother.
The crime we're investigating is an aggravated vehicular homicide ×2. I do want you to know that a lot of people are coming to us and reporting things. And so usually the most accurate information we're going to get is from her.
Can I say something to her?
Yes.
She speaks to her mother in a unique language. It's a gibberish or a distortion of the English language. It's kind of like pig Latin. Can we tell the police I had a seizure? Can we tell the police something like that? One of the first things that the girl said to the detective was instantly, "Can't you just take my driver's license away for 10 years?
Yeah, like, can I just, like take my license away for, like, 10 years? Something like that.
She's feeling some kind of guilt here. So that instantly starts making us think that this is not an accident.
Mackenzie's social media offered a possible clue.
I'm not even cool. I'm just one of those girls that can do a lot of drugs and not die.
This was a person who regularly smoked marijuana and drove her car under the influence of marijuana. They did find in her clothing, I think it was around 7 grams of psilocybin mushrooms that tested positive for a controlled substance.
But the toxicology reports from Mackenzie indicated the levels for the mushrooms and the marijuana were not a likely factor.
The detective immediately filed a search warrant for her medical records and discovered that she had not reported any sort of blacking out, any sort of neurological failure. You realize there's no medical reason for this, that wasn't the cause. The next thing they looked at was, did the Toyota Camry suffer some sort of mechanical failure that led to this crash? So we had what's called a forensic mechanic go out and inspect that car. And he took apart the steering components. He looked at the suspension, the braking systems, the accelerator, and he determined that the Toyota Camry did not contribute to the crash through any sort of mechanical failure.
The first break in the case came from a grief-stricken friend of Davion, Tyler Croy.
I was just kind of shocked, really. I didn't really know how to process it all. And just knowing Davion, I just felt like there was more to the story than just an accidental crash.
Using an app called Life 360, Tyler and Davion and a few other friends were regularly tracking each other's phones.
Wherever Davion or anyone else in that circle went, it would just ping their exact location. So I basically just went back and looked at like the previous night. It showed that the car hit a top speed of like 90 miles per hour, and there was no effort to like hit the brakes. We just decided to show that to the cops because we felt like that could help them like investigate it a little better.
This was kind of the first time that the police department had really got a grasp on how fast Mackenzie was driving. It really triggered them that something was not right here. Something was off.
If it wasn't a mechanical failure, if it wasn't driving under the influence, what was it?
All three of these kids grew up in Strongsville. They lived there. Their families lived there.
Welcome to the class of 2022 commencement ceremony. And the crash came just a few weeks after two of them had graduated from the local high school.
Davion Markel Flanagan. We were really looking forward to him, finding his path, becoming a man.
Mackenzie Ford Sharilla.
Classmates knew her as a kind of wild child.
Spotlight, hot nights, go at the stoplight. I say, big swerve, big road, rich taste. I said,
Mackenzie had no boundaries for herself, and her parents had no boundaries for her either.
figure like a pin, I've got a figure like a doll. Don't care if you think I'm dumb, I don't care.
She felt like she was going to be the next big thing. Nobody loved Mackenzie better than herself.
If I wanna be adored, I'm the girl you die for.
360, the 360.
The third person in the car, Dominic Russo, was a few years older and the boyfriend of Mackenzie.
Mackenzie was 17 and Dominic was close to 20, and they had been dating for several years at that point. They were living together, and Mackenzie was living there full time.
He was interested in music. He was investigating a possibility of joining the military.
He really lived for Mackenzie. He did everything for her. When Mackenzie said jump, Dominic said how high.
And it started to fit with the picture of who Mackenzie Sharilla really was, which was an out-of-control high schooler, 17-year-old child, who was permitted to live with a 20-year-old man in his house while she was doing poorly in high school.
Spotlight, hot nights, go at the stoplight.
Her parents were following her on social media when she was posting these videos of herself wearing pretty much nothing, doing drugs, drinking, at college parties at 17. Her mom was liking these posts. Her mom supported it.
And in fact, it continued while Mackenzie was still in the hospital.
They were Instagramming back and forth with some modeling company. She's in the hospital, having her mom reach out on her behalf, letting everyone know that this was just a tragic accident that she was in, more or less hoping to gain people's attention, using this as almost like propaganda for her modeling career.
The investigation had begun as a standard fatal traffic accident case, assigned to a rookie detective.
He was doing everything he possibly could to try and turn over every stone to show that this was an accident. He didn't want this to be a double homicide.
But interviews with people who knew Mackenzie including former boyfriend Tyler Proctor, only added to the evidence that this was no accident.
She's like mentally just not all there. I mean,
Yeah, I don't think she's just mentally all there. Like, I personally feel like she was trying to kill herself in that crash, and she failed doing so. Is what I feel like. And I feel like she had no regard for Davion, and I feel like they got in an argument, her and she threatened to kill him.
So detectives wanted to know what was going on at the home where Mackenzie and Dominic Russo were living together in a contentious relationship.
You lied. You lied and said you would never lock me out of the house again. That is why we got back together last time we broke up.
Dominic recorded many of the angry fights.
You broke up with me earlier. Because you were a little weak.
You broke up with me earlier. You broke up with me earlier.
This is your last chance to open the door, or you are not coming out of this house all night, because I will not leave.
Why did I just let you in my home if you broke up with me? You're threatening to break my... Like, you're threatening to key my car, threatening to break the door.
I will key your car if you do not let me in the house.
You're going to key my car if you don't let
If you don't let me in the house, yes.
They had broken up numerous times. They would break up and then get back together. And I think that Dominic wanted to kind of move on from that. He was sick of the way Mackenzie was treating him.
You're going to come open this door right now, or there's going to be a serious problem.
I can't, no. You can't keep making all these threats and I can't
You
open
can't
the door.
come here. I'm going to break into your house right now.
Dude, what the heck?
Now open the door. Yeah, I will break. I will break. Do I have to call the police?
Why? Why would you call the
Do I
police?
have to call the police, or you're not going to let me into my house?
This is not your house.
The calls themselves were so important because they showed us that dynamic. Dominic had said, I'm done. I'm going to end it with Mackenzie, and this time it's going to be for real. I want to move on. Dominic felt the pressure that Mackenzie was putting on him. He felt that threatening nature. And I truly believe that he felt at that time that she was going to harm him at some point.
Two weeks before the crash, there was another blow-up as the couple drove along a Cleveland highway.
Dominic called his mother and said, Mackenzie is driving reckless. We are on the highway. She is, threatening me, and I need help. I need to get out of this car.
A friend went to pick up Dominic.
And he heard Mackenzie say, Dominic, I will crash this car. I swear I will crash this car.
Davion was a shooting star, streaking across the night sky for too short a period of time.
You are so loved, and we are eternally grateful to have been chosen to be your parents.
The vigil, they lit those candles and they stayed there past midnight and they just spent the night. They refused to leave the crash site, mourning the loss of two innocent lives.
As friends and family mourned the deaths of Davion Flanagan and Dominic Russo, the parents were getting more unsettling news.
The detectives were the ones that kind of started hinting at it. They're saying they believe our son may have been murdered.
It's almost unfathomable because who drives into a building at 100 miles an hour on purpose?
It's one thing to lose him, but for it to have been an intentional act, that was really a whole new level to the grieving, a whole new level to the trauma. Maybe 6 weeks after the crash, we received some flowers from the Shirley family. I did receive a text message. I would never do this. This was a terrible accident.
And Mackenzie's social media posts added to the pain.
Mackenzie went with her best friend to Ohio University's Halloween and just really blasted herself all over social media. She had dressed up as a zombie, where she was wearing next to nothing, showing zero remorse for anything that had just happened. In no way, shape, or form did she look like she was sad or injured or really had any care for any consequences of what lied ahead.
This wasn't a girl who was sitting at home weeping like her mother said. She was out partying with her friends and in the most classless way possible.
In a text exchange, Mackenzie told Dominic's mother it was just an accident.
It's difficult for me to conceive or consider that she could have done this and not been intending to take her own life as well.
Whether Mackenzie was homicidal or suicidal, to us didn't matter. Mackenzie had a death mission that day, and I don't think Mackenzie cared who was going to die in that car.
And prosecutors had the car's event data recorder, the so-called black box, to prove it.
The black box in this car recorded the last 5 seconds leading up to impact. It took that car 20 to 25 seconds to get up to that speed.
She had 100% acceleration and 100% force applied to the pedal, and she not one time had ever applied the brake. She had time to formulate the decision. She had time to stop herself if she wanted to, and she did not.
Dominic and Davion, they didn't have their seatbelts on. To me, I always thought that meant that it was very likely they saw what was happening. It's likely they were trying to do something to avert their fate, but that it was just too late.
The totality of this evidence just really, really hammered in the fact that this, even though nobody really wanted this to be a terrible, horrible, purposeful double homicide, it was. That's exactly what it was.
3 months later, Mackenzie Shirilla was placed under arrest.
Hi, Mackenzie. Step up for me. I'm Detective Kazoo. I'm the one who's been investigating the crash. You're under arrest for aggravated murder ×2. Okay? Nobody's going to ask you any questions?
She weaponized that car. She used that car as a weapon to take Dominic's life. I don't think she ever even considered Davion for a second.
Case number 679612, zone for juvenile detention.
Because she was 17 when the crash happened, Mackenzie was charged as a juvenile.
She would have been facing a prison sentence up to her 21st birthday. That's the maximum she would have been looking at.
It appeared she just thought this was not going to be a big deal, that she was just going to go on living her life.
We had a 3-day hearing at juvenile court where we had to convince the juvenile judge that we've got good evidence to proceed and allow her to be tried as an adult for murder.
Once the case was moved out of juvenile court, Mackenzie's parents were able to hire a well-known Ohio defense lawyer, who then tried to negotiate a plea deal.
Mackenzie Shirilla had offered essentially what would have amounted to juvenile probation as a penalty that she was willing to take on. We allow the victims' families to have a lot of input on this, and nobody was interested in that. They felt like she had murdered their sons and loved ones, and they did not want her to walk off with a slap on the wrist.
Mackenzie Shirilla would be prosecuted as an adult, facing a possible sentence of life in prison.
Well, the trial for a Strongsville teen charged with murder in a deadly crash is going on today, day one.
The parents of the young men who were killed attended court every day.
We felt that our son didn't have a voice anymore and that he needed us to fight for that justice, to fight for truth.
We thought it was interesting that she showed up wearing some sort of cast or brace on her arm. We didn't find any medical reason for that.
Mackenzie chose to forego a trial by jury, choosing a bench trial. The judge would decide her fate.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please report, Mr. McDonald. On July 31st, a Sunday morning, 6:15 in the morning, Strongsville police and emergency personnel received a 911 call that there was a single car high-impact collision.
Prosecutor Tim Troop went immediately to the accident scene photos and the surveillance video of the actual crash.
To see that video, that was the first time that we saw the actual crash video that showed the horrifying last few moments of my son and Dominic's life. There was, no other explanation, no other logical explanation than this was done on purpose, and it just was shocking, absolutely shocking.
This data shows strikingly 100% acceleration through the entire final 5 seconds. It also shows no service brake was deployed during that final 5 seconds.
As soon as the prosecutor began the opening arguments narrating the details of the deadly crash, she broke down into tears.
You will hear a little bit about the relationship between the defendant and Dominic. We will play the videos that Dominic Russo recorded in the weeks leading up to this fatal crash. This is the defendant's version of what happened on July 31st. I don't remember the accident. All I remember is turning on the street and then my vision fading into black. Your Honor, this is our case. This is the type of evidence that at the conclusion of putting on for you, we will ask you, Your Honor, and anticipate findings of guilt on all counts in our indictment. Thank you.
Your Honor, may it please the court. When I first got this case and saw that the charge was murder, I thought to myself, boy, if this is murder, they have to prove that Mackenzie purposely did so. So, if she's driving the car and it was her purpose to kill these people, she must have wanted to kill herself too. If need be, if that's the prosecutor's theory, we will put on numerous witnesses who will say that she was not suicidal. If they only have 5 seconds of recordings, how can you come to any conclusion other than, if anything, she's reckless? And for those reasons, I think that is will conclude my opening statement. Thank you.
Did you at any point provide the Strongsville Police Department with some videos that you had obtained that had conversations between Mackenzie and Dominic?
Yes.
Prosecutors used Dominic Russo's mother, Christine, to introduce the videos Dominic recorded of his fights with Mackenzie.
You worry, little me. This is your last chance to open the door. Do not open. You think I'm joking.
What does the next 10 minutes and 28 seconds contain?
It's just, it's the same thing of Mackenzie and threatening Dom.
She threatens property.
Mm-hmm.
She threatens to break into his house.
Correct.
I will keep your car if you do not let me in the house.
Kenzie, you're acting. You don't need a break. I'm gonna break the glass.
Okay, I'm gonna break into your house.
Did Dominic threaten the defendant?
No.
How would you describe Dominic's tone on these videos?
Very calm.
How would you describe the defendant's tone on these videos?
Irate and angry.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
There was no cross-examination.
Today was definitely the most emotional day of the trial so far. The prosecution played surveillance video of the crash multiple times and showed autopsy photos of the 2 victims.
The parents of the two young men killed in the crash watched it all. Davion's parents, Jamie and Scott Flanagan, and Dominic's mother, Christine Russo, burying her head in a friend's shoulder.
Mrs. Russo got so upset she had to run out of the room. I was sick to my stomach at the end, just tears streaming down my face, and I can barely breathe.
Swear to God, the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Me too. So to see, watch the step.
Please state your name and spell your last name for the record.
Natalie Shirella, Shirilla.
And you speak Mackenzie in the courtroom?
I do.
What's your relationship to her?
It's my daughter.
The second her mom took that stand, you could already see her breaking down.
Prior to the date of this accident, did you ever see or hear your daughter express suicidal thoughts?
Never.
It's been testified in the medical records that your daughter suffered from POTS. Do you know what POTS is?
Yes.
Please tell us what POTS is.
POTS is it's a condition where your blood pressure gets very low, and it happens sometimes when you stand up too fast, you can pass out.
And you observed your daughter experience these symptoms?
Yes.
On how many occasions prior to this accident?
Multiple, couple for sure, multiple, yeah.
No further questions.
So you were aware of these POTS incidents, yet you still went to the BMV and said, give my daughter a driver's license.
Yes.
You signed off on her operating a car on the highway.
Yes.
Correct?
Yep.
Knowing that she had this issue?
It's not required to disclose it on a driver's permit. They didn't tell me I had to do that. I know people that have POTS and don't have it on theirs.
But this is your daughter, and you're giving your blessing to her for years to operate a car, correct?
Yes.
You never told her not to drive the car because of this POTS diagnosis.
She's been able to manage it.
And so you're here to tell us today that this was the reason that she crashed the car into the footboard. Isn't that the bottom line?
It could be.
Could it be?
It could be.
No further questions.
Again, from this is to the duress.
Yes, Your Honor.
Alright, so this will be closing arguments.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon. May it please the court, for the counsel. This video says it all. That after she turned onto this turn, she was driving the speed limit, Mackenzie Shirilla accelerated her speed. That car did not miraculously combust from 25 miles an hour to 100 miles an hour. She put her foot to that pedal and slowly pushed that gas until she reached the speed she wanted to go. No one but her did that. When you drive a motor vehicle 100 miles an hour into a brick wall, the logical result is death. And we ask that you find Mackenzie Shirilla guilty on every count. Thank you.
Your Honor, may it please the court. The photographs, horrific. But that doesn't have anything to do with what is the ultimate decision you have to come with here. And we are really never going to know what happened in that car. Could Dominic have grabbed the steering wheel? I don't know. What's to say that she didn't have it and knew she was going too fast, tries to get off, and just goes even harder on the gas. We don't know that, but that's just as possible as anything. So, Judge, I think the state has failed to meet their burden of proof, except as it comes to the counts of where the reckless, the aggravated vehicular homicide, as well as the count of possession of criminal tools and possession of drugs. Thank you.
I think the evidence is clear, Your Honor, that this catastrophe took place at the conclusion of a rocky and tumultuous relationship between Mackenzie Shirilla and Dominic Russo. I don't want it to be lost on whatever happened, Judge. was because of that relationship. That is why this took place. And what about Davion? He's just cargo in the backseat. No consideration at all. No reason to take Davion's life. Whatever she had in for Dominic, he was just along with his friend and just got sucked into a toxic relationship and just got in the wrong backseat that night. Thank you, Your Honor. We ask you to find her guilty on all counts.
The judge says she'll deliver a verdict on Monday at 1 p.m.
There was many sleepless nights. It was hard to sleep because you just didn't know what the judge was going to decide.
It was through the weekend, and then Monday was the verdict.
This trial is a culmination of decisions made by one person. And those decisions have forever altered the futures of 3 families.
She had written notes and started to give her thoughts on the case in its entirety. And so for the first couple minutes, we weren't sure where she was going with this.
The video clearly shows the purpose and intent of the defendant. She chose the course of death and destruction.
As the judge was reading off the verdict, I saw Mackenzie mouth something along the lines of, "Oh my gosh."
She morphs from a responsible driver to literal hell on wheels as she makes her way down the street. She had a mission and she executed it with precision. The mission was death. Mackenzie alone decided to push the pedal to the floor, demand the ultimate speed of that vehicle to 90 to 100 miles per hour. The totality of the evidence clearly demonstrates Mackenzie Shrillo acted purposely and intentionally. In the early morning hours of July 31st, 2022, her purpose was to kill Dominic Russo.
The verdict, when she's finally being read these things from the judge, she and her mother seem to be in utter shock and disbelief.
This was not reckless driving. This was murder. Count 1. The court, having had count 1 tried to pursuant to a finds defendant Mackenzie Shrillo guilty of murder, committed Dominic Russo. Count 2. Finds defendant Mackenzie Shrillo guilty of murder, committed Davion Fenton.
Thanks, love you, baby.
I think I squeezed my wife's hand very hard because it was such a relief of so much. It just seemed to wash away when we heard that verdict.
Today is an emotional and stressful day for 3 families, and for the defendant, and for those who care for Davion, Dominic, and Mackenzie. I'm now prepared to hear from anybody who would like to speak on behalf of the state.
My son Davion is and always will be so much more than cargo. He was precious. He was an amazing soul with a heart of gold. We will make sure your memory lives on, and we ache for the day that we are united again in eternity. Thank you.
I'm Christine Russo. I'm Dominic's mother. No one wanted this to be a murder or to punish Mackenzie Shrillo for this accident. But this was not a car accident. The evidence and science proved that Mackenzie Shrillo murdered my son Dominic as well as Davion. We all know what happened in that car that day. What we don't know is why. Social media has made a game out of the life of Mackenzie and is making a game out of this heart-wrenching tragedy. Mackenzie, going to prison because you did this. Be thankful that you're still alive and have a future, whatever that may be. Mackenzie showed no mercy on Dominic, nor did she on Davion. Only God at this time can have mercy on her soul. Thank you.
Your Honor, this was a terrible tragic nightmare accident to have happened that she has no memory of, and she will never emotionally or physically recover from it.
I'm hearing an awful lot about your daughter. I'm not hearing very much about the two dead people.
Dominic, okay, I'm asking you for a leniency because this was a tragic accident that she does not remember. And Davion, he's a new friend. I'm so sorry.
What does that mean? His life is worthless?
No. God, no, not at all. I understand what it looks like. I'm saying that it was a tragic accident. She would never.
Well, we're gonna have to disagree on that.
I understand. That's all. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
Is there anyone else?
I would like Mackenzie to address the court.
The families of Don and Davion, so deeply sorry. I hope one day you can see I would never let this happen or do it on purpose. I wish I could remember what happened. I'm just so sorry. I'm heartbroken. I love Don and Davion. We were all friends and Don was my soulmate. I wish I could take all your pain away. And I'm so sorry. And to my family, thank you for the support and all the love you guys give. Thank you for fighting for me. I love you all so much.
I understand that the pain in this room wants me to impose the harshest sentence. But I don't believe that would be the appropriate sentence, because I do believe that Mackenzie will not be out in 15 years. So she's sentenced on count 2, the murder of Davion Flanagan, 15 years to life. She's sentenced on count 1, the murder of Dominic Russo, 15 years to life, to be served concurrent to each other.
I'll be honest, we were taken aback that the sentences were run concurrently. We were taken aback. She is essentially serving the same sentence that she would have if only one of the boys had been in the car. That's hard to stomach. We are just thankful that we feel justice was served today. There's not a day that goes by that we don't miss our son, and justice was served for him today. But honestly, there's no winners here. There's no winners for today.
His parents, Jamie and Scott, are honoring their son through a scholarship fund. Davion's dream was to become a barber and someday start his own barber shop. Even though he could never fulfill his dream, his family has started the scholarship to help others go to barber school to keep the dream going.
He would be honored.
He would be absolutely honored. Davion always said we were his second chance. Being adopted was his second chance. That to me would be making the most good out of a truly terrible and horrific situation.